Functions Part 2. At the end of this video, you should be able to determine whether a function is one-to-one, use the vertical line test to identify functions, and graph the functions listed in the library of functions. One-to-one function. A one-to-one function is a function in which each output value corresponds to exactly one input value. In other words, there are no repeated x or y values. To visualize this concept, let's look again at the two simple functions sketched in Figure A and Figure B. The function in Figure A shows a relationship that is not a one-to-one function because inputs Q and R both give output N. The function in Figure B shows a relationship that is a one-to-one function because each input is associated with a single output. Vertical line test. The vertical line test can be used to determine whether a graph represents a function. If we can draw any vertical line that intersects a graph more than once, then the graph does not define a function because a function has only one output value for each input value. Look at some examples from the given figure. Example: which of the graph in the following figures represent a function y equals to f of x? Solution: if any vertical line intersects a graph more than once, the relation represented by the graph is not a function. Notice that any vertical line would pass through only one point of the two graphs shown in Figure A and Figure B. These two graphs represent functions. The third graph does not represent a function because at most x values, a vertical line would intersect the graph at more than one point, as shown in Figure C. Horizontal line test. Once we have determined that a graph defines a function, we can use the horizontal line test to determine whether the function is one-to-one. Draw horizontal lines through the graph. If any horizontal line intersects the graph more than once, then the graph does not represent a one-to-one function. Look at some examples from the figure. Basic toolkit functions. When learning to do arithmetic, we start with numbers. When working with functions, it is similarly helpful to have a base set of building block elements. We call this our toolkit function, which form a set of basic name functions for which we know the graph, formula, and special properties. It will be very helpful if we can recognize these toolkit functions and their features quickly by name, formula, graph, and basic table properties. The graphs and sample table values are included with each function shown in the following figures. Go through the figures by yourself. Try this quick check exercise.